All right. So I call the meeting to order at 7:06. Summit Waller Community Association via Zoom. Our first order of business is reading and approval of board meeting minutes from December and then January.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Angela seconds.
All in favor of approving the December minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes. And now do I hear a motion for the January minutes?
So moved.
Gabe second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Dan, I can't see if you're. All right, motion passes. Okay, treasurer's report. I didn't receive anything from Russell and he is not here. So we'll just keep adding months to next month's. We'll have maybe every 6 months he'll report in. Website.
I hope Russell isn't on like in the Cayman Islands sipping Mai Tais at our expense.
He might be.
How much did you guys have in your account?
Not enough to get to the Cayman Islands.
I'd have to drive a stolen boat out to
Yeah.
maybe get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was just a trip to Disneyland. And,
I don't even think any of us would begrudge him that. Probably get away with
really?
it. Okay. Website and social media updates. Gabe.
All right, so website's been static, nothing's going on there. We're now up to 1,839 members on the Summit Waller Facebook group.
Mhm.
And things are going pretty steadily there. It seems like the conversations have slowed down just a little bit. It's just, I don't know why, but it's just not as active, it seems, as it has been before, but that's pretty much it right now.
Second largest airport, Merrill Field, gateway to the Alaskan interior.
Did you need more?
No, I'm just wondering what I'm hearing in the background.
Oh, he's watching the documentary again.
All right. Anything good?
So
All right. Old business. Larry reported 3 hours of working at the Orange Gate Pipeline Trail, cleaning up the park and such. Is there anything else to add to that?
Yeah, if I could add some additional information.
Sure.
I did go to the last Friday's neighborhood watch meeting at the Mid-County Community Center. There was a gentleman there who lives near High Point Equestrian. I take it he was a horse rider. I didn't get his name, but he informed me that High Point Equestrian owners of High Point Equestrian are adamantly against the Orange Gate Park plan, simply because they would like to have access to all 160 acres of Orange Gate, not just be confined to south of 84th Street. I said, well, maybe it's time for you guys to start sharing the park, simply because you guys have a special access, since your location is next to the park and you have direct special access to the park. And you advertise in your on your website that you have this special access to Orange Gate Park.
This meeting is being
And he said that that's not true. They don't have that on their website. Well, after the meeting, I checked and it's still there. So we kind of went round and round about that. And I'm hoping that maybe I can get his name and phone number and have a chat with him about the possibility that, you know, there may be a way in which they can still have access to more of the park than they are going to be restricted to. They say they want more than just a half a mile of access, and it will drive horse boarding places that have sprung up around the area, maybe some of them going out of business if they're confined to just south of 84th as far as the horses. So I think the Parks Department and maybe our community association and the horse people need to get together and maybe figure out something. I know that because Pierce County Parks and Recreation isn't his own taxing district, therefore they do not have enough money to hire their own police force. What's going to stop horses from utilizing all of the park in the next, let's say, 5 years? So, you know, there's plenty of time to work that issue out, I think. So I just wanted to let you guys know that there is this chasm between Pierce County Parks and the new plan and people who ride horses in the park.
I think Megan had a question.
I did. My question was around like, what's changing that's going to make them not have access to the park? Is it just we're going to say no more horses in the rest of the park? Is that why they're feeling like they're being shoved out? I don't know. I mean, I guess I just don't understand.
Larry, could I comment on that? I think what Larry was trying to say is that the area south of 84th Street would be 120 acres available for horses, and the north 40, which would not be available to horses. So they're still going to get 120 acres of the 160 acres to be used for horseback riding. But don't forget that the pipeline trail, and Marty, you can correct me if I am incorrect, but the pipeline trail running through Orange Cake all the way to Swan Creek and the other way too, also is available for horseback riding. So if you scratch that 40 acres that they lost on the north side of 84th Street, that's more than compensated by the addition of pipeline trail. Because if you do the square footage on that, that'd be way over 40 acres of, of linear.
Yeah, and I explained that. I tried to explain that to those very comments to this gentleman, and he wasn't buying any of it. He says it's just not enough. It's not enough.
Well, I think additionally, they don't have full access to the entire 120 acres. It's just along the pathways that they have. They can't just go off-road trailing again like they used to.
True. Well, they're gonna have to live with it, I think.
I have a question for Don. Don, you sent out an email about Orange Gate Park potentially being a dangerous place. Could you comment on that a little bit?
My letter said that that I have in my possession an email from a party of higher position within the park systems that says that they have quit going to Orange Gate Park because of safety reasons, and that letter is over a year old.
Who's they? Who's they have stopped going?
I won't divulge the name in public at the moment. I have.
But I mean, they're saying personally they've stopped going there, or that
Personally.
the Parks Department?
Yeah, personally.
Okay.
Said person used to take their dogs walking there, but this person found that it was no longer a safe venue.
Thank you.
I just, within the last few days, feeling better, I've gone through much of, well, picked up garbage along the streets and went into the North 40, picked that up. You know, I've never felt unsafe by myself in Orange Gate. I certainly run across a lot of people. There are people who park along 84th Street, you know, for various reasons. Some of them I know are illegal, but I've never had any problems talking to anybody.
All right.
And I've never had anybody come up to me and say that they're feeling that the park is unsafe. So, you know, I don't know if that's a unique response, or a lot of people are complaining about safety in the park.
Okay, I'll counter that with, I have personally pretty much boycotted the park for the last year because of dogs off leash. I walk my dog on a leash consistently, and a park that allows a jurisdiction that allows laws to be broken day after day by the same people is not a safe park. That is my opinion, and I will continue to boycott it until it shows proof that it is for all the people.
I would agree with Don on the dog thing, that people who do walk their dogs tend to, once they get into the park, take their dogs off leash. That is a problem, no doubt about it.
Hopefully the new park, the dog park area will help with that.
Yeah.
While we're talking about that, the parks just now going out for bid when they plan construction. I would like to see a real timetable, and if they're going out to bids, how are those bids coming in as compared to what was allocated and budgeted 3 or 4 years ago when they first started to figure this out. Their time track is so outdated, what's posted, that we really don't know what's going on.
I think you should contact the Pierce County Parks person who's in charge of Orange Gate and ask that very question.
Isn't that Tiffany Odell?
Yeah,
Or Brianna,
Tiffany.
is that her name?
it's Tiffany.
Okay, Tiffany.
Her contact information, if you saw not too long ago, the Facebook post about the updates coming from there, her email address is there.
Yeah, no,
He has it. You have her
Okay.
email address.
well, of course.
He's on speed dial.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we move along to current business and 2023 goals.
Sure. Gabe, can you allow me to share my screen, please? Did they come in?
Should be able to now.
Okay, thank you. So I apologize for not sending these out ahead of time. I literally did them late last night. And then was slammed with meetings all day today. So I'll make this here. It's essentially a copy and paste from our 2022 goals / tasks to be accomplished. So what I'll do is I'll email these after the meetings, and then you guys can take a deep dive into what's in there. But again, just high level, continuing to advocate for rural separator preservation and acknowledgement of potential impacts from plans and projects, continuing to push for additional safety measures in the Waller Road curve area, continuing to push for additional traffic safety features along Vickery Avenue corridor, street lighting at intersections, continuing to do a lot of the advocacy and coordination work that we do with council and code enforcement and the neighborhood watch team, holding our adopt a road litter pickup, continuing to work in Orange Gate, and then tracking specifically kind of those future projects for the Pipeline Trail and for Orange Gate Park. So continuing to support the Waller Road Grange. And disseminating information and updates to Summit Waller residents. So there obviously needs to be some updating on this for, you know, the lighting, the street lighting requests and a couple of other things. So I'll send that around this evening and then you guys can take a look at it. But as I ran through those super quick, is there anything you think we're missing?
Question.
Answer.
Does it include our working with the Puyallup tribe on land use issues in the Summit Waller area?
We can add that if you'd like.
I thought it was already in there. Yeah, you definitely, that's gotta be that's an ongoing issue, yes.
Okay.
I don't know how you'd word it, basically, work with the Puyallup tribe towards common interest within the real separator. I guess.
Okay. I'll craft up something.
Yeah, that looks fine.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Angela.
Angela.
Yeah.
Does anyone else want to add anything? Or think we should remove anything?
Yeah, we can always take things out if it's too much or. Larry, can
Well,
you give us an update on, can you just remind me on the lighting request for 2022? Did we send a request in?
We have not sent a request in lately because
Okay.
all of the streetlights that we have asked for and have been approved by the Pierce County Council in the last couple of years, none of them have been put up.
Okay.
How do
So
we
we're still
find out?
waiting for,
How do we find out the reason why they haven't been put up? If we were given the okay, is it on a timetable? Is it on a to-do list? How do we figure out where we're at with that?
I
maybe
think it's on
Marty
a
could look
to-do
into
list and a little bit of funding constraints, although I expect funding around streetlights to open up significantly over the next 2 years, which is a push that I've had because our ability to do street lighting has significantly changed in the last 5 years with the really proliferation of LED lighting, to the point to where even some poles that in the past would have been very expensive because you had to run cabling and wiring and all that. You can now put a street light up that's solar powered. And while it may not be the full extent of a wired one, it's significantly cheaper. And the light's better and the lights don't need the maintenance and so given that we're now at a point where installing street lighting throughout many places is far more affordable than it was even 5 years ago, I'm going to push for a big allocation in the next upcoming budget to really address street lighting across the entire mid-county area.
Okay.
Thank you.
So is that for the budget for 2023 or the budget for 2024?
It'll be 24, 25. But let me just, double check, see where we're at on those specific ones. I wrote it down. One thing you might want to add to this is, and I have to loop back, see where we're at on the conversation, traffic wraps or wraps on some of the traffic boxes.
Yeah.
I think we held off on a few because we wanted to do some branding on them. Of course, if we brand them, then they're not part of the public arts funding. So then we have to find additional funding because if they're done by artists and part of the artist project, then the arts can fund it. But if it's a branding exercise, then we have to find the money somewhere else.
Oops.
I've
Yeah.
enjoyed they've done some new ones recently up and down 112th, and they're nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe you look at the ones on 112th and maybe just letting, you know, making them the priority and letting the artists do what the artists do. You know, but if we want to specifically brand it and design it, we're gonna have to pay for design, installation, and some of those. So, because then it's no longer in the arts budget. And so
Understood. Okay.
we're willing to follow your lead there, but one will be much quicker than the other and far cheaper. But
Yeah.
that doesn't preclude the other.
Yeah, I think that's initially when we started talking about the idea of utility box wraps. It was, oh, let's get some art students at Franklin Pierce or Washington High School to help us out and do some design. And that way we're getting this, they're getting the experience, we're getting the design. And then that way, you know, we could, that's a cost savings. And then all we'd be paying for is the wrap. And then we thought, well, maybe we could have some businesses help sponsor the installation of that or whatnot. But then came along the program that you alerted us to, and not that I'm disgruntled about us getting kind of stuck with other people's art. I do think it would be really nice to have something that really is reflective of Summit Waller specifically, rather than a good generic design from an artist that we don't know. But I'll put it on here that we'll continue to track that and assist with branding and installation as we can.
And I've been very impressed with the art that's been going up. I remember the first generation we did in Tacoma was nowhere near as the ones we're getting now out here. So so take a look at the ones that are up and, decide, do we want to, pursue a longer term kind of branding effort, or are we okay with some of the stuff we have going up? And do we want, so think about a couple things and I'll see if we can kind of make it'll be this, or this with prices attached to it.
And where are the artists that are funded by this program? Where are they sourced?
They're all Pierce County. So it goes out a call for artists across Pierce County. So they're Pierce County artists, and they try to kind of put them near, if you live in Gig Harbor, they try to put them in Gig Harbor, but we may not have enough respondents, or, there's a quality versus location, trying to match it that way. But they are Pierce County artists.
Is there a way to find out what artist has done what, and to learn more about their design and what made them think about it? The typical artist statement. Is there a way to find those things out?
I don't know that we've tracked that, but that's a good question.
Just
Some
be cool to
website
know.
that you could go to. That could be cool.
Yeah.
I think for starters that the control box at 72nd and Waller Road should have our Swan feature with "Welcome to Summit Waller" on it, because Swan Creek is in the general vicinity and it's kind of our gateway to our community. So I think that particular traffic control box should have a "Welcome to Summit Waller" motif about it.
Shall we move on?
Yes, please.
Angela? Oh, I'm sorry, was there somebody else that wanted to say something about traffic utility wrapped boxes? Okay, so shared housing village zoning change for the mid-county area. Did we want to submit comments? That was Angela's.
Yeah, so I came across, or I was on the distribution list for receiving notification of this shared housing village being incorporated into the county's development regulations. And I think it started out as the shared housing village that's proposed out in the Spanaway Parkland area. And it looks as though, and maybe Marty, you can speak to the council ordinance that was passed related to this, but it sounds like it's would amend the zoning code to further allow for shared housing villages in the residential resource zone with a conditional use permit in Parkland, Spanaway, Midland, Frederickson, Mid-County, and South Hill communities area plan areas. And my little spidey senses kind of went off and I thought, okay, well, what does that mean for the Summit Waller area? Maybe it means nothing. Maybe it means something kind of big. And I wanted to just alert the board to see if we had any thoughts or input or wanted to provide a comment letter during the comment period. But yeah, Dan.
Are these proposed housing village discussions related to urban and rural areas, or one or the other, or both? That's a question for Marty.
It would be for the residential resource, so basically areas within the urban growth area.
So areas that are zoned rural, be the out by Mount
No,
Rainier.
no. Residential resource.
Okay, that's the only zone?
I believe that's the only zone. So the executive sending it up to us, they've not sent it up to us yet.
Okay,
They've been close for several weeks.
yeah, would it be, I'm sorry to interrupt, would it be accurate to maybe also say that it's for urban growth areas and not for rural areas? Is that an accurate statement?
That'd be my understanding.
Because in Gig Harbor, there's rural areas, out south of Frederickson, there's rural areas.
It wouldn't make sense for us to put a village concept in a rural area.
Because of health and infrastructure?
Infrastructure, more than anything.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any residential resource zoning in the Summit Waller area, or is it all rural separator?
I think we have, along Canyon Road, we have urban, but I can't speak to whether it's, what the particular zoning is. I've kind of reviewed this issue myself, just very, very briefly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure it really targets our area as far as a concern. I think Spanaway and Midland, primarily Spanaway, I think would be really concerned about it.
Mm-hmm.
But if we want to be involved with it, I have no objections.
I'll share my concerns along this line with it, and it hasn't come to council. And we're gonna have to wrestle with it because not what it is, but where it is. And that there's a lot of wetlands where they're looking at. And there could be it may be too much to mitigate what we're looking at. The concept and the small village concept, I think will work fine. We've done them here in the city of Tacoma. First one was off McKinley at the time, within walking distance of it. We've done 3 or 4 across the city of Tacoma. And I can't say they've been 100% problem free, but they've usually turned land that was problematic because there was some homeless on it already that was unmonitored into lands that were well managed. And for the most part, we've had nothing but success, because success when it comes to a shared housing village, authorized encampment, even as a community association manager in Salishan with large affordable housing project, it comes down to management. And if you've got good management in place that is holding people accountable and taking care of issues and helping connect people, it's going to be successful. The people aren't looking to go out and cause trouble in their neighborhood, and they're just happy to get a good place. So my concerns, and we've gotten tons of emails on this, and I don't have concerns with any impacts that'll come to the neighborhood from it. I think that they'll be minor, insignificant, and probably less than what we already have, because in any area where it's put in. I don't see it going into the rural separator in any way, because it's, again, rural. It doesn't make sense. You don't have all the connections that you need. Problem out there is we're buying 80 some acres, 20 of which are usable. This is the executive went and got this, found it. And then there was concerns about putting septic for, 100 and some housing units in an area surrounded by wetlands. So they said, okay, we'll bring sewer in. Well, now the costs are getting to a point to where this may not be the right thing. So my concerns on, is the property that we're looking at really going to work for what we need? But I really, in all my studying of homelessness and helping people get to stability, I don't think the location of the building is going, or I don't think it's going to impact the community in a way that anyone thinks. And that just comes from years of trying to address homelessness and where I've seen us get it right and where I've seen it get it wrong. Larry.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought I heard that the state of Washington needs about 1 million more affordable housing units in the near term.
That sounds about right.
Okay, so
I didn't hear the million number, but I won't dispute that because I know we need tens of thousands here in Pierce County. I mean, when housing rates shot up, it forced a lot of people into homelessness. Well, a lot of people were into homelessness because they can't afford their rent. You give them a place to live, they're not going to cause trouble in their neighborhood.
Yep, and I know that's a big cause of people being homeless is they can't afford to live anywhere.
Yep.
Except in their car.
So it's part of the puzzle. We've had people out in Spanaway, they've emailed me and said Tacoma's trying to dump people out in Spanaway, and I'm like, Tacoma's been the only one sheltering anyone in Pierce County forever. Every city in rural Pierce County, none of them opened up any sheltering. They just shuttle them all to Tacoma. I guarantee that out in Spanaway and Parkland, we have more homeless people right now than we will have spaces in that place. We could fill it with just people from the community, housing for people in the community. So, because I guarantee a lot of people from Parkland have found themselves homeless. We know it from eviction rates. So, so I would just put it out there. The concern shouldn't be about them people. It should be about, do they have the right management in place? And is it the right land use?
Yeah, I think the concern, or the one of the concerns I thought people would have if they saw this, it's expanding that type of concept further out into potentially areas that are considered more rural, but residential resource, I'm just looking at the definition is single family, 2-family dwelling units, and in limited circumstances, multi-family housing, which we don't have in the rural separator, but sounds like they're trying to keep it, they're expanding it, but they're also keeping it in a land use zone that would actually have infrastructure and support services nearby. I mean, putting a shared housing village out in McKenna doesn't make any sense, right? There's really nothing out there for them. So that's why I brought it to the board's attention, just for discussion, just to.
No, I think it's a great discussion. Every community group throughout Pierce County should be having it to understand it and understand the impacts. One of my other concerns, and Jen, I think I see you putting your hand up, so I'll go to you. But I don't like that the executive picked a spot, and then one of the objections was it's not zoned right. And he's like, oh, well, we'll just have council fix that. I don't like being put in that place of it didn't match, and so we'll just change it because we shouldn't make policy that way.
Yeah.
It may be the thing to do this time, but I sure don't want it to be a pattern of policy that we have. And so I'll just put that one out there to y'all that, I have discomfort with that, and I really, I can honestly say, I don't know how I'm going to vote on this yet because I haven't gotten all the facts in. I have pluses and I have minuses. Jen, did you have something?
Now I have two things because of what you just said. I don't like that. It sets a precedence. Once there's an in, they'll just keep using it. And so that bothers me. But what I did want to say is that when I'm reading and listening to people speak about homelessness is that there's something to be said about serving the homeless in their own communities. So you were talking about having people shuffled off to Tacoma. Well, if that's not their community, if they don't have, everyone has, if you're the center of a wheel, you have your spokes, right? So you have one spoke might be your family, another might be where you went to school, another might be, the clubs that you've joined or the congregation or whatever your social hubs are to keep you connected in your community. If you shuffle somebody off out of their community and take away their spokes from keep them connected to people, that's it doesn't help them. So homelessness does need to be served where it is hitting. So right now, I don't think it's a huge problem in the rural separator. I don't know if it's a problem in Midland. You just mentioned it's a problem in Spanaway and Parkland. So yes, there should be services out there and things being done to serve the people where they're from and where their spokes are.
And in South Hill and Puyallup and Eatonville and, everywhere. And the problem is we haven't done that in this county. We've centralized it all in the city, and we really need to do a better job.
Marty, I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Has there been any discussions on promoting ADUs for the obvious additional dwelling unit housing for people?
There's definitely been discussion down in Olympia. And so I haven't been tracking all of it because they're moving a whole host of housing bills that are being amended and changed on a daily basis. When we do I think it is March 8th, they kind of swap bills with houses. And that's really when you kind of know what might be coming out. And so at that point, I think we should look at what they're proposing as far as ADAs, DADUs, accessory dwelling. There's attached accessory dwelling units and detached accessory dwelling units.
Right.
So look, watch the code on that. That is something that we might see show up a little bit in the under some rural zoning. And so we might see some ADUs showing up, but I don't think it's something that'll be prolific, because it's really right now the cost to build them doesn't match with anything that you can get out of them. So,
well, Southern California has got a real strong, hard, active push for the development of the very same thing.
There's places and times for them. There are times when they completely work, and there's times when they're just not right. And what we have to be able to do is define that. If you want to be able to have your parents live on your land next to you, but you don't want to have them living in your house, there should be a place to be able to do that. If it becomes a rack 'em and stack 'em, and how many people can we get on a piece of land that don't know each other, that's not. So one of the things when we looked at City of Tacoma is who's ever living in the DADU has to have some kind of familiar connection.
Okay.
And so that where that's at today, what it is, how well that could actually hold up in court could be a very different thing. But the idea was create more housing options on the same piece of land for people who are related. But let's just watch and see where it goes. It's something we should continue to monitor.
Okay.
There was a piece on that in the New York Times last weekend, and if you're interested, I can send you the link.
If you could please, yes, because they're becoming pretty popular.
I'm allowed 10 shares, so you'd be one. Donna, do you want the other one, or whoever wants it? I'll share it.
Print it as a PDF.
All right, I need to get that figured out for you. You'll have to help me.
And I can say this joke here because there's certain, particularly when I'm talking millennials, I can't say this because they don't get it. If you want to think about what an ADU is, Fonzie lived in a DADU on Happy Days because he lived out over the garage.
I am a millennial, Marty. I'm gonna put that out there. I am a geriatric. I am a geriatric millennial. I am. I was born in 1981, which makes me part of that generation, but I also know who Fonzie is, so.
Yes, but do you know where he lived?
Yeah, I lived in the above the garage or something like
Yep.
that, right? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
But I've said that to some people who haven't watched Happy Days, and they're like,
Yes,
"What?"
I watched Happy Days growing up. That was part of.
After school, right? Good.
Yeah, that
Yep.
and like Green Acres and the Beverly Hillbillies, all the good ones.
So, but yeah, some people say, "What's a DADU?" I can't wrap my head around. I'm like, it's where Fonzie lived.
Yeah.
So it's not a really new concept to us. It's just needs to be well managed, like all things. I'm afraid I've got your time way off on you here today. So
Okay, we're gonna move on. So the Waller Road curve and the Vickery corridor traffic safety issues. And Angela brought up Vickery and I wanted to add to it. So I'll do it in a moment. So I added to, if anyone printed the last minute quarter to 7 agenda, I had thrown on a little bit more information, and I'll just read it in case you printed the first one that doesn't have it. And it says that Jennifer Dvorak has obtained information and needs to update her work. She's contacting county engineers, but getting the runaround. The data available is from 2019 and is not substantially different. A huge problem is that one result of the speeding is driving on the shoulder, and or the accidents that result in the destruction of property. So when the county engineer's assessments that things haven't really changed in the speeding statement, he's only talking about maybe the volumes and the typical rate that you're flying around the corner, that maybe those haven't really changed. But one thing that is that the increased speed is correlated with more accidents. But one huge problem is, despite the repaving of Waller Road and putting in these nice bright white lines, I am noticing more people going off the shoulder than ever before. And I am really struggling to not cause an accident. In my, just trying to get out of the driveway has just been tremendously difficult recently. It's always been a challenge, and I've lived here 12 years, but lately it has just been just substantially increasingly difficult. I sit in the driveway for long periods of time, making sure both directions are clear, because the cars flying around heading south veer into the opposite lane. So now I have to make sure the opposite lane, the northbound lane, is clear in case somebody comes up behind me, and so they don't cause a head-on crash.
traffic driving in the pandemic just went to heck. It went bad everywhere. I mean, nationally, a huge rise in traffic accidents, and statewide, you can track it nationally, state, county. City of Tacoma recently lowered their speeds across the city without enforcement. I don't know how much they're going to get, but you slow down, and if half the people slow down, the other half are forced to slow down some. And so it's on my radar. We're working on it. I'm going to continue to push the engineer, and I'm hopeful that the goals that you did up earlier, that you can send me that, or whatever we get through with that, because that helps us create a punch list. We're actually, if I get it by tomorrow, would be great, because we're actually doing a budget retreat or a council planning retreat tomorrow. So,
Okay. So then,
and I understand it's draft and might change, but it gives me some directions to nudge things in.
okay, and then Jennifer will be working with Dan to, when she gets her, she's been struggling with her elderly parents, and she also got COVID, and normally she's one of those gals that's on the ball, but it took a while to get the data. Then she had parent and COVID, and she's been hard hit this past month. But she did say she'd connect with Dan. They already connected via email, and they'll write a report, and we'll forward that to you as well. And then I don't know what part of Vickery Angela's going to comment on, but I've
Quick question.
been talking to hold on just one second, Dan. I've been talking to the neighbors on the 48th and Vickery, the sharp curve by the the llama property.
Yep.
You know where that is? Okay, so the neighbors have been complaining that people are drifting, that's and the newest sport in the neighborhood is drifting.
Ah, I hate
So that's what
uh,
I wanted to add there. And now Dan and Angela and Marty
yeah,
can
I
take.
know we did an engineering review and I asked them to put up any additional signage that they legally can on that corner. So we're tracking it.
Okay. I'll tell
Angela,
the neighbors.
or did you have a question?
Yeah, well, so I think it was back in 2019 when we sent a letter to the Pierce County engineer, and it went to Roy Grinley, and it went to yourself, Marty, just asking for more safety improvements for signage and traffic safety improvements along the Vickery corridor. So I know, and then in 2020, we received a response that somebody in the office of the county engineer actually looked at the concerns. They looked at the intersections and came up with a list of recommendations of those things that could be installed. And I don't know that all of those were installed. And we're still seeing accidents and traffic problems at many of those intersections in the Vickery corridor. So it's been something on our list since 2020 to really just we're just trying to move the needle just a little bit, as
I
we
remember
can, so.
back in 2019, that's when, I actually came back to him and said, look, I drove it. Not all of them have stop ahead. We have 3 different sizes of stop signs. I want the largest stop sign you can put, a stop ahead sign, the largest sign you can put, and I want the red stripe put on the sign. And that seems to have, accidents are still happening, but there does seem to be less. I think the data came back that it had actually dropped some along that corridor. At least it made all those brighter. So, but that doesn't mean we stop there. I mean, there's always room for more. And like if you've noticed, if you go down the 72nd Street curve, down to Pioneer, that they've, doubled the number of chevrons through those curves. That was another thing that I, want to get in place. I'm a big fan of, let's put up a bunch of signs, tell people and tell them again. And then, Waller and Vickery are pretty much 2 of the key roads that, where we're going to continue to push on, keeping them to the highest I'm going to keep pushing them to do stuff on there.
Is there
think our
anything that
signs-
we can do to support that, Marty? Would you like us to send another letter? Do you want us to send the previous recommendations and then have you give us a report back of like what's been done? So, that would be helpful for us to know, like, out of that list of recommendations, actually what was implemented.
Yes. And I'm going to do my best. Since I've started, I'm on my 3rd assistant, and Roy Grimley's no longer there, so I can do my best to track it back. Best thing we do is really send me a new letter, and I'll just kind of start as a new process. Since I've got new engineers to work with, new assistants, let's just let's just be thankful for what we've done in the past, ground zero it. Now, how do we make it better from there? So,
Okay.
That makes sense, because
Yeah, that's fine.
right now pulling a bunch of the old stuff up is going to be a lot harder. So let's just.
Okay.
Dan, I think was outstanding, or
Oh, I just wanted to tell Jen that, as soon as her engineer is ready to talk, I'll put together a cover letter for that.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, I posted on our Summit Waller a request for people that had concerns about line of sight intersections. And I really didn't get any response as far as that particular verbiage. However, I have traveled Vickery several times in the last 2 weeks, observing the signage, and I think it's more than adequately done. The only problem I see is people's driving habits and not paying attention to signage, and you can't put enough signs to make somebody slow down that has no cognizance of where they're at or where they're going. The
That'd be a
other,
very prophetic statement there.
yeah, well, there's no argument apparently. It's an enforcement, period. And that's the only way you're gonna solve it, is to put somebody out there full-time that is, has the authority to take whatever citation action is required. The only intersection that caused the biggest consternation is Vickery and 72nd. There's pretty close to an average of an accident a week at that unmarked, except for the stop signs on Vickery at 72nd.
I will attest to that. I got T-boned at that exact location about 3 or 4 or 3.5 years ago. Pretty bad, actually. Almost.
Let me pull the crash data since we reinforced the signage on Vickery and since 72nd had its road redesign. Because I think
Ever since. Oh, I'm
the
sorry,
road
ever since
redesign I
they,
know made it safer because you could roll out a little bit, get a little bit better sight line. But
Yeah,
let me pull our accident data that we have
Yeah.
and see if we can use that to draw more improvements, particularly on 72nd, to get them more alerted to the intersection.
yes, that intersection has terrible sight lines.
Yes, it does.
Okay,
not only that, with the sight line, and I take that route every single day to take the kids to school. But since they changed the road design, it used to be you would look, I'm not saying the road design's bad. I'm saying it's the way people are driving it. But you used to look and you'd have to really watch the 2 lanes and then make sure no one's coming into the turn lane. And then you would turn into the turn lane and move over when you could. You cannot even do that anymore because people pass in the turn lane all the time. And so.
Well, that turn lane is not a turn lane for you to turn left into either.
No, it's a passing lane now.
It shouldn't
We
be.
need new
It
signage.
shouldn't be. It's not legally a
But it is.
passing lane.
No, it's not, but that's how it is used regularly.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just,
I get passed all the time, even though I'm actually going faster than 35. I still
well,
get passed
no,
in
I
the center lane.
understand
Yeah.
that. It's enforcement.
All right. Letter D, Pierce County Comprehensive Plan and the Critical Areas Ordinance Update.
Yeah,
Which is-
so Jen
that we
and
went
Gabe,
to-
yeah, Jen and Gabe and I just spent some time on one of those. So let me pull up my thing real quick here. Pierce County is, as we've been tracking, doing an update to their comprehensive plan, which is it's a periodic review and update of their comp plan. And as part of that process, they're updating their critical areas ordinance. And they've done some best available science review. They've done a gap analysis to kind of identify policies that need to be updated based on new science or to comply with new regulations and policies that have come up. And now they're in the community engagement phase of that. And they're holding a series of what they're calling like community conversations. And they're geared towards different groups. And one is for outdoor recreation groups. The one that we attended tonight was for rural residents, landowners, and businesses. Then they have one for environmental advocacy groups and another one focused around agricultural community. And just to let those that weren't there, they just gave a brief update on the process, what they're doing, where they're going. They, had some good conversations in small groups with asking us what was important to us about critical areas and what we would recommend that the county consider during, this update process. And then they're going to take that feedback and start drafting amendments to their critical areas ordinance, and that will be made available for public review and comment towards the end of 2023. And then they'll finalize those development regulations as they're going through the comprehensive plan update process as well. So it'll all kind of get rolled up into that process. So it's an online open house, although there's not a lot of opportunity for a lot of feedback on it, but you can at least learn more about the different types of critical areas that Pierce County regulates and what the value and the functions are of those different types of critical areas. And you can learn more about that, and we can provide feedback if we'd like to. So I just wanted to let people know that was happening. And some of us participated in that, and so there'll be more to come.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're up again.
Pat?
Possibly. Maybe, Parkland Incorporation study.
Oh, I just wanted to ask a
Road
really
or-
quick question, Angela, before we move on.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't see
It's okay. I put it in the chat. I just said, is the open house asynchronous, or is it like happening at a certain time?
It's just an online open house.
So
There's-
you could go whenever, like, that's what I mean by, okay. Would you mind sending out the link to that to everybody? I would love it.
I will do that.
Thanks.
Are you now in the Parkland Incorporation study?
Maybe. Was there anything else on, I'm sorry, because I didn't see the little, I took my glasses off. Silly me. I didn't see the chat thing.
I'm
was there
just so
anything
used to
else?
chatting questions like that. I'm sorry. And it's just my function of my work and what I do.
Yeah.
So I can speak up too. I can use my voice. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. Well then, Dan, Parkland Incorporation study?
Well, I mean, it's pretty much as last time, my understanding, and Marty, correct me if I'm wrong. The Parkland Incorporation study is basically that Washington State $200,000 approved study. That's going to try to find out if they can make a city out of the area of Spanway, Parkland, Midland, whatever. And my understanding from what I saw during one of the LUAC meetings that I'm involved with,
Mhm.
that it will not involve in any way rural areas. Marty, can you touch on that?
So I went to the one that was at Frederickson and where the line was drawn. So people said, what's that big white spot that you're not studying in the middle? And they're like, that's the rural separator.
Yeah.
And they're not studying the rural separator. So,
Okay.
and these recommendations, so by Representative Morgan, she asked for it. It's being done by the Department of Commerce. And there'll be recommendations that go back to the state and then kind of get released to the public. No one can be incorporated or annexed without a vote of them. So there's no nefarious government going to come in and be like, you are now a city, go. You know, it will have to be at the end of the day a vote of the people. But this gives just a lot of information. I'm actually looking forward to it. A lot of the economics and things that they're studying, I think will just really be helpful in some long-term planning of what we're going to do in the mid-county area, you know, an understanding of who we are, what our makeup is, and what our economic strengths are, and what we need to focus on. So I don't know that it'll lead to a direct annexation. If Spanaway wants to annex, they can take the Spanaway portion of the data and use that to justify, you know, their own effort to go gather the signatures and put it on the ballot. I welcome anyone's self-determination. I will neither tell someone they have to or nor tell someone that they can't. I'll work with them whichever way they want to be. But I do value the rural separator and would not see anything like that happening in the rural separator and would require a vote. Yes, sir.
Marty, we had a couple reports put out by Tom Ballard, I believe it was. One was regarding the rural separator. And I think he also did one regarding the Midland area too. It wouldn't hurt if we put a cover letter on that and just send it off with it. I think we should at least comment, or at least get our.
Yeah, no, I don't think that would hurt. I don't think that'd hurt.
Okay.
I mean, it'll put it in the record, so.
Yeah, I think that's, oh, Marty, where is that process at now? Have they got the consultant already engaged?
Yeah, and they've been going out to all the LUACs, so they're pretty, they're moving fast on that.
They are.
It would not surprise me if they don't have their data all collected by the end of March.
Well,
Or
yeah,
mid-March.
I stand corrected. I was sitting as a LUAC member when one of the state people from the state came
Yep.
in and commented on that. I think that what I'll do is just, yeah, we need to get something out. It's on my list.
Yeah, I went to the Parkland Spanaway Midland Land Use Advisory Committee in January. And it was interesting because I had emailed, well, Representative Morgan and many other individuals, as well as people at the Department of Commerce, with hey, here's all these community groups and all these points of contact that would love to be involved in the study, not being told what the results are, but actually having a seat at the table and helping inform the development of the study. And that has yet to happen. And when I went to that LUAC meeting, I raised my hand and I said, hey, so when are you gonna contact all these people? And they were kind of like, oh, well, I didn't really get a satisfactory answer. I kind of got a lot of, oh, well, we're still working on things and we're gonna come out to you. And if you could send me a list of people to come out to, I'm like, well, I already sent you the list, but I don't know that any one of us has been contacted by Department of Commerce directly or their consultant. But to answer your question, Dan, on their website, it says that they were having these community group meetings, which basically they just went to LUACs in January, and they're doing information sessions to provide presentations of information, progress updates, survey and engagement findings, as well as draft in progress report. And that is this, they have spring of 23. Then they have stakeholder group interviews, such as service providers, tribal government, and others identified by Commerce, Pierce County, or the LUACs as needed to refine the analysis. And I think that they're taking priority over utilities and tribal governments over community groups. That's what I got from the project manager at Department of Commerce. So I'm not really sure that we're going to get a seat at the table, even though we've asked for it a couple of different times. I think our chance to participate will be during the the general public comment period when we all get to comment on it. Like I think that's the first time we'll get to see it.
Angela.
Yeah.
You say utilities and tribal groups. Is the Puyallup tribe involved with this at all?
Well, I'm guessing it would be Puyallup tribe mostly. Yeah.
Marty, do you know anything about that?
I don't know, and I don't know if they would comment on it. They get a little picky, and actually where it gets down over the other end, actually it could run into Nisqually. It's definitely covers some of the disputed customary lands. There's the definition of tribal usual and custom lands. And I mean, it's pretty clear the Port of Tacoma is usual and custom for the Puyallup tribe. What's not really clear is what's 112th? Who's that usual and accustomed to? What's 151st? And so you get out there 151st, 172nd, you start getting in Nisqually, and some say, hey, we were all the way up to here. And the others say, well, we were all the way down to there. Maybe they did hunt in each other's lands, but so there's not a real clear definition of who may have where it's off the really clear areas. But they're making sure that they have the opportunity to put input in if they want. When I went there, I asked if they would come to county council and present, and they nodded, but then we haven't been able to get them. I mean, so because I wanted to get them in a committee and make sure that they knew as a county what information we found helpful.
Yeah.
This is the data I want collected. That's going to help me determine the future of that area and help the people determine it. So keep trying. It's Commerce, it's Olympia, and they're doing it to make trying to make Representative Morgan happy, and so which I'm sure they don't want to be on her bad side. So I'll
Yeah.
be polite.
Yeah, so I think this spring is when we're gonna see more, Dan, in terms of a survey, a draft report, and ability to comment on it. So stay tuned.
Okay,
Yeah. I know myself and Councilmember Krueger are tracking it pretty closely.
Good. Yeah, great.
I've kept it on here. Canyon Road Northerly Extension update. I haven't heard
We're-
a peep, but it's still
We're
here.
waiting on they're doing a study of it, and we're waiting on the department's going to get back to us with kind of a study of, oh, I'm losing my thoughts here. They're just kind of going to study it for, is it still the right thing to do? You know, the 30-year-old plan, is it still the right thing to do? And they're supposed to get back to us late spring, I think.
Mhm.
And by late spring, I don't mean July. I'm thinking April or May. And then that'll really probably determine where we go forward from there.
Who's the they?
I don't remember if we asked it of the executive's office. The council, we can pretty much only ask the executive. So I think he has his public and planning and public works kind of doing assessments.
Mhm.
Angela, do you have any insights? I know you.
Yeah, that'd be the
You
office
have
of
more
the.
insights into how some things work in the county than I ever get.
I
get
mean,
to
it's kind of, sometimes it's a big black box to me too, but
Yeah.
I know that the Office of the County Engineer, which is the roads department, is looking at it. I also know that they're continuing to try to resolve some of the issues that they have with other planning and public works departments in terms of their hydraulic modeling and the bridge design itself and that sort of thing. So I know they're working on some things, but I also so it seems like they're still pushing forward for doing this big project, but I don't know, there might be some other conversations that are happening that are looking at the feasibility of what exactly does the project look like moving forward. So
Swan Creek Park, Waller Road feasibility study. Does anyone have anything? I haven't, nothing's come across my email.
I got a statement and a question, of course. First of all, Marty, what do you know about this? Some kind of a Waller Road feasibility study for the entrance to Swan Creek Park.
When you reframed it that way, I seem to remember that we're looking at perhaps redesigning the Waller Road entrance. Just because it's not that great and it just needs to be updated. I know they will be doing some ecological work upstream that actually sometime in the next 2 years, that will have helicopters bringing in down trees to put in the ravine to slow down the water flow and to return it to more of a natural, so it's better for salmon. So that's coming up. I think we're redesigning the Pioneer/Waller Road entrance. Do you have anything more specific?
Yeah, I do, Marty.
Where along Waller and Swan Creek? Because
Well,
there's
yeah, Marty, if I could, I contacted the parks and I generally got this idea that at 50th and Waller Road, there's an old 40-acre county gravel pit, which is now owned by Pierce County Parks. And I think they were at 50th and Waller Road.
Okay.
They were trying to use that as some kind of an entrance to Swan Creek Park. Have you heard anything about that?
nothing specific. I mean, now I know where you're talking about. I know it exists.
Okay.
I know
Well-
Metro Parks was interested in talking with them about, could we make it a like extreme sports facility or something like that with some like natural rock climbing or some natural this or things like that, which would be a in use, but not a heavy use.
Yeah, that's on the metro side of Swan Creek. Last time we were together.
Well,
Gordon-
but they were interested to see if the county would give them access to the quarry because they'd love to add a extreme sports venue, basically.
Yeah.
But as far as I know, those talks didn't go anywhere. I mean,
Right. Well, anyway, it came up and I agreed to do some research on it and to put together a letter to send. I guess that would be to the county to give our concerns, not a position necessarily. So I've got documents going back to 1965, Swan Creek at that time, before it existed, was a county, city, metro park joint agreement, joint project. And I'm not going to talk about it now because it goes in too many separate areas, but I am working on that letter and I want to get it out as soon as I can.
okay, I look forward to it.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have
Anything
on
else on
that.
this? Okay, anybody have anything else? All right. We're to announcements and there
Well,
was,
The only other thing I would add is that today at our council meeting, we passed a resolution opposing the process for airport selection in Pierce County. And it actually mirrored the bill that dropped this morning from Representative Fye and Senator Dent. That basically says bad process, start over. So we'll see where that goes, but we took about as strong a position as I've seen the council take on something in opposing the 2 greenfield sites for the airport. So
Well, thanks for that update. I've had a lot of questions about that from my neighbors.
In 5 words or less, where was the airport supposed to go, out beyond South Hill somewhere?
yeah, beyond South Hill, beyond Graham, one south of Graham and one east of Graham would probably be the best way to
Right,
describe. They were looking at 2 greenfield sites. So
right. Okay, thank you.
we don't have the infrastructure in Pierce County to support it. It would just, yeah, no. I should have a more formal statement than yeah, no, but
we'll take the no. Okay, another announcement is we need to let Bunny at the Mid-County Community Center know which date we would like to meet in April. Did we want to meet on a different day during the first week in April or on a different Tuesday during the month of April? If you don't have an answer right now, maybe we could go through, Larry has an opinion. Go ahead.
Just to point out, when we were meeting in person, we would generally have 2 meetings in April, one at the beginning of the month, one towards the end of the month, in preparation for our general membership and community meeting, the first Tuesday of May. So the April meeting is supposed to be an in-person meeting at the beginning of the month. Is that correct?
Correct, except for Bunny has requested that we move our date because we do have priority if we insist upon it, but there's a church group that would like to politely ask us to not use our date because they would like to use the center. So she's asked us if we'd be willing to move.
Well, maybe we should move it to either Wednesday or Thursday.
So that's the question. Can we move it to Wednesday or Thursday? Does anyone have a conflict, or if it's super important that we stay on Tuesdays, can we go to the second week?
I have a conflict on Wednesday night, but Thursday would be fine with me.
Okay.
Let's go with Thursday.
Anyone else have a conflict with the first Thursday in April?
That's April 6th, right?
Yes.
Correct.
I don't have a conflict
Yes.
either, no.
Oh, yeah, April 6th, I believe. All right. I will just triple check with her and that April 6th would be it. And I'll get back to you all and confirm. And then the last little order of business is we are Larry's been not feeling the best, and so he hasn't worked on t-shirts, and I also had said, oh, what about the sign? And he's like, so I'm thinking
Well,
about maybe
uh,
working on it, but I
um,
would like some input as to what we would like the sign to say. So maybe we could do that via email or wait till our in-person meeting. But I thought it'd be nice to have it before our May community meeting.
Yeah, I'm stabilized now and I am back to my normal activities. So anytime Angela wants to take a lunch break and go meet her at the print shop, I will be available to do that.
Okay.
Awesome. Now I'm off the
And
hook.
Do we have a design already?
Not really.
yes, yeah, we kind of do, don't we, Angela?
Gabe sent me the vector files for our logo, so I figured we'd give that to Visi Printing and then they can help us place it on a shirt, so. So yeah, we have a design, it's a simple Summit Waller
you-
logo,
Need any help? Just let me know.
sure.
graphics
Something I can help with. What'd you say, Gabe?
I was gonna say, you do graphics work?
I graphics light. We're not gonna say I'm a graphic designer. I don't want to
Right.
put that out there, but yes, I do design. I do that regularly. That's pretty
So the
standard
only
for.
design change I was thinking is if we were doing a front back thing with the volunteer shirts. Put the big
Yeah.
circle on the back because some women aren't happy with circles on their chests.
Mm-hmm.
And then above that, maybe have the word volunteer.
Yeah.
And then on the front, I don't know, maybe throw a SWCA across and then since 1993, kind of like.
Yeah.
That seems to be a prevailing style out there.
I'm happy to, put
Hi.
something together or, if we want to talk about it offline, I'm happy to help. Just,
Okay. Well, how about this?
I joke, I'm like, I don't want to come up with the content, but I'm happy to put it together and make it look pretty, so.
Well, I will forward you what we have.
Yeah.
And then we can maybe work on like what's gonna make most sense for specifically a t-shirt design,
Sure.
so.
Sure.
Okay. And Megan, would you I think we have the t-shirt sizes for everybody plus extras. But just to make sure that
Larry.
we have a t-shirt for you, would you make sure that Angela knows your t-shirt size?
I will make sure she knows my t-shirt size, no problem.
You remember Angela? She bought eggs from you.
No.
You don't remember her? This is Seth, everyone. He's my 10-year-old.
Hi, Steph.
Hi, Steph.
He just
Hi.
pointed out Larry and Dawn. And I tried to say he should know Angela. She bought eggs from him. Okay. Now you can go.
Bye, Mom.
I can go.
Great.
Okay. Think that's
like
the
to
last thing
thank
on the
you.
list.
I'd like to thank Marty Campbell for attending our meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Above-
you.
Above and beyond the Call of
Thank
Duty.
you. I appreciate the opportunity and the nice relaxed conversation that we can have because so many times I have to be so much more on. And so I appreciate you guys allowing me to be just here and part of it and trying to just solve the common issues that we have.
Yeah.
And
thank
can
you
anyone
so
else
much.
hear the fireworks that I'm hearing?
Mm-mm. Oh, can you
There
get
are some
Yeah, I can
loud.
hear from all the way over here
There's some
too. Yeah.
here. They're
Yeah.
near my house too. I don't know. And it's already made it on Facebook. I hear gunshots near 104th and Waller. I'm like, they're not gunshots. They're fireworks.
Hey,
Yeah.
Marty,
So I'm down here at 64th and between Waller and Portland, and I'm hearing them like
Yeah, I don't know
they're
what it
loud as can
was.
be.
It's the State of the Union. Everyone's celebrating the State of the
Yeah.
Union.
That's hilarious.
We're
I'm
fighting
really
over
quick.
it.
I wanted to shout out to that. I put it on the Facebook page, but that Waller Road Grange is having a spaghetti dinner on February 18th. And Marty, I wanted to make sure that you knew that you're invited too. I can email you the flyer if you want. Just want the specifics, but you know, obviously all of us are invited, and anybody in the community who wants to come. It's just a
You can
community
walk
event.
there or bike there if, but you know,
I
it's a
could.
dangerous road, but
Yes, that too. I'd actually almost feel safer walking than biking, oddly enough, because I am out of town that day, but
Okay.
please send it to me and I'll pass
Yeah.
it off to some of my colleagues or some others and see if who else, or my assistant, see if any of them want to attend.
Awesome.
Or the
I'll send it to
18th.
you tonight. It's
What
the
day is
18th,
that?
the February
Right.
18th. It's a Saturday.
A Saturday.
Yeah, from 4 to 6 in the afternoon. So I can also email the flyer to the group as well. So
That'd be good.
That'd be
Yeah.
good, yeah.
we'll do.
I might, if anyone ends up going, if I could bum a ride home, I could have someone drop me off, but I would need a ride home.
Well, I'll be there, so I could definitely give you a ride home if needed. So.
Okay.
Jen, how are the eggs production going?
Oh, our girls got wiped out by a dog. So
Oh.
we've started over, dog and raccoon. So we've started over and we have a few babies. We're gonna get a few more, and my husband's we're not going to allow them to free range anymore. So he's in the process of building some enclosures, and we'll get moving again.
We only
It's
let ours
rough.
free range under supervision, so. Yeah.
Yeah, we try not to let them, but they like to fly out and go off.
Yes, I know. All right, everyone. I'm signing out. You guys have a good evening. I'll
Oh,
let you
before
guys.
you go, I like the sweatshirt look.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a long day and I was just like, if there's one group that's gonna let me get away with Lincoln Heights hoodie, it's this group. So I
It's
promise
pretty
when we're in person and you have other people that you invite there, I'll be dressed up.
I don't know, kind of like the sweatshirt look. You can dress down if you want.
more approachable. Yeah, people more approachable.
We'll see.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Marty.
Okay.
Good night.
Good
I think
night.
it's kind of like a Franciscan friar look.
Oh, so do we have a motion to adjourn before?
Move.
All right,
Second,
all in favor?
out.
All right. Motion passes.
Right.
We adjourn.